And here we are, everyone. Yes, we made it. We made it. We made it. Happy Tuesday, everyone. It is the Telling of the Tongue Tuesday. We about to bring it. We are about to bring it. My name is Nikki Martinez. This is Victorious Voices. My pronouns are she, her, we. Look it.
Hello, my name is Arturo Soriano. Victorious Voices, baby.
And here we are. Here we are. So you guys know I always like to start out with a quote. Just get us going, get our mindset, figure out what's getting ready to be on the horizon for the day for us. So one thing I was thinking about as we were talking and thinking about what we were going to have this conversation and how it was going to look like and where it was going to go. One of the things that we realize is there is power in words, but we also have to be mindful because we have a responsibility in some way, shape, or form. So the quote that I pulled for today is, be mindful when it comes to your words. A string of some that may not mean so much to you may stick with someone else for a lifetime. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. A lot of times, I get really, really random and a lot of things can just easily fly out of my face, and I do notice that a lot of things that I have said have stuck with people for a while, whether it was in humor or whether it was with pain. But I've been told, that they remember what I say,
Most definitely. And people are going to remember what we're saying here presently right now. Mm-hmm. But, we've all said things that may have not come out in a specific way and not meant be misinterpretations. But those are patterns and behaviors that we could definitely change. And that's what we're going to discuss today.
For sure. So the one thing that we always like to start out with, because, we love to exercise mindfulness. We love to encourage socio-emotional growth, emotional intelligence. We definitely always want to have the conversation of how are we feeling, because we know, Arthur and I know how many lifetimes we've lived and how many days we've gone with not able to identify our actual accurate emotion. And as a result of that, it created either harm or frustration, or, we created our own denial patterns. And so we always like to start out with how you feeling. So how you feeling today, boss?
How am I feeling today? I'm feeling relief. I feel relief.
You feel relief?
Like a weight off my shoulders has been taken off for just all kinds of different reasons. A lot of great things happening within my family and community, so I'm feeling relief. Like I feel relief. Mm-hmm. How about yourself, Nikki?
I feel excited and I feel hopeful for things that are on the horizon. I woke up this morning and I was leaving for work, and one of my closest, dearest friends hit me up with a text message this morning, and she was just like, just so you know, this is going to be the month that you find your house. And I was just like, oh, that was super sweet, and it was the power of words, right? It instantly changed and it instantly made me feel encouraged and hopeful as I was driving to work this morning. So I feel encouraged. I feel hopeful for the things that are getting ready to happen. And I know we have a lot going on here, so that makes me even that much more hopeful and excited for the things that we have going on. So
yeah, a lot of responsibility, a lot of opportunities, a lot of excitement with different opportunities going back into the schools. And, we've had reached out to 5 or 6 and just getting prepared for that. But we have it. We have that under control, and our staff, with the power of words and of encouragement and mm-hmm. uplifting and being there in support for one another, just makes us that much sharper.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too, is the phenomenal thing. As I was driving to work this morning and I realized, with so many different things that we have going on, we're doing the international restorative practice training.
Yeah, IRP.
Today.
Yes. Yay! International Institute Restorative Practices within our staff. We have a couple individuals like William Ortega, he's going to be present.
Yes. Welcome home, bro.
And we're looking forward to connecting with him and letting him facilitate inside the schools.
Yes.
So we're definitely excited about that. So we're going to be doing a training from 12 to 4.
Yes.
And we, not I, we.
Oh, it's so funny. So wait. I hope you guys are ready for this. So this morning, so last week, boss was like, I'm going to be doing this training. Our RRP next week. We got to get ready. We got to get on it. Blah, blah, blah. I'm sending out all of the emails. I'm letting everybody know, sending the calendar invites. And then this morning he hits me with, he goes, I'm going to do this training. Well, we're going to do this training. And I'm like, oh, boss.
It's inclusive, right?
I love when he carries around little components that lets me know, like, I have a mouse in my pocket and we're going to do this.
It's a with process.
It is
not an I process.
Yes, it is a with process. Yes, it's a with process. But it's also, I love it too, because, like, as I tell him all the time, when I was in there before I had left, I was doing groups. I mean, like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of groups. And it was just, it's really rewarding to be a part of the process, and when we sit in them circles, and we have those conversations, and you start exploring just a little bit more, the insights that end up coming from those conversations are so meaningful and they're so powerful. And it's like, it makes you realize you were destined to be in that spot at that time for that reason, to hear those words.
They're fulfilling. And, I'll be quite honest, before we started this podcast, like, I wasn't feeling it, right? Like, I was tired over the weekend a lot. But as we continue and have the conversation, I got my mojo, right?
You're pumped, huh?
I'm getting pumped, and
He's doing burpees in his head on the yard.
Yeah, so that's the power of words.
Yes.
The power of words that we're having, the power of words that we're giving, and the power of words that we're receiving back from you guys with your support, your love, your dedication into Victorious Voices.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. So when we were thinking about this, there's a lot of things. We've been putting a lot of different things together. Person-centered language is a really big thing. Communication is a really big thing because, we're working with our trauma-informed care code of conduct, and we're talking about how people deserve to be treated, right, with dignity, with respect, as human beings, no matter what their status is, no matter what their social status is, no matter what their class is, no matter what their ethnicity, no matter what their race, no matter religion, creed, it doesn't matter. We want people to be treated with dignity, right? And of course, we come from a formerly incarcerated system impacted lens, right? But it doesn't take away from anybody that has experienced any type of trauma and understanding that. And so when we were talking about this last week, we were talking about the power and impact of words. And I ended up reading something, and I want to read it to you guys. So it says, words have a powerful impact on human beings. Scientific studies actually show that positive and negative words not only affect us on a deep psychological level, but they have a significant impact on the outcome of our lives. Like, I want you, this is a scientific fact, and this has been shown that on a deep psychological level, not only do they have an impact on us, but they have an impact on the outcome of our lives.
Wow.
That is so deep and so intense. And so, like, with that, I want to also just shed some light on, in some studies it's shown that negative words release stress and anxiety inducing hormones. And with that being said, as we go through life and being just mindful of what it is, and I come on here every week, you guys, and I tell you guys, we want to be mindful of what we deposit into people. Right? We want to be mindful of that. We want to come here and we want to be able to deposit something of greatness into you all that are watching and listening and that are a part of our community. We want to elevate you in any way, shape, and form that we possibly can. But when I read that and I seen that it has an impact on the outcome of our lives.
Outcome of our lives. That's so powerful. And it goes hand in hand with the message being spoken here today. And give an example. I like to go on narratives to speak on examples of what Nikki's, her message. And so growing up as young kids, right? Like, I particular was a kid that was very quiet, right? It took me a minute to learn certain things. And I remember being in the school system, right? Here in City Heights. And like, I remember being here in the school system, and the way the teachers would talk to me, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like, you're not doing your homework. This is the way you do it. That's not how you do it. I already explained myself. This is the way it needs to be, right? It created an everlasting impact
Mm-hmm.
on my life. How Nikki just explained on her message
Mm-hmm.
right then, right? And then so them power of words were negative words that weren't nurturing and supportive and uplifting and motivating. And so that led my life to like, okay, like maybe school's not for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment, like I was looking for my sense of belonging, my purpose, and just myself, a single mother. Like I needed that. I wanted that. And I found that with my homeboys, right? And them power words, right? Were like, hey, what's up, homie? Like, let's join this gang right here, man. You got a family right here. You have a sense of purpose. And that's the route that I ended up going. So from the power of words from school system, from the power of words from your community, from the power of words from your parents, from the power of words from any type of system that you may have been a part of, welfare, right? However that may have looked out for you, them power words had an impact on your life. And that's powerful. And this is a skill that, we need to learn. Sometimes we just might not want to say certain things to uplift one another, but hey, okay, just suck it in and be like, elevate that person, that you individual or family. In this process of going through all these processes of negative words into my brain, and me becoming a gang member and running amok. And I remember going into juvenile hall, the probation officers back then were like, oh man, you're just a piece of crap. Like you ain't gonna get it. You're gonna get caught in this traumatic psycho violence.
Yep.
You're gonna go down the pipeline and you're gonna go to prison. And that was a big impact in my way of thinking, in my way of being.
Well, and the thing, they manifested that for you, and they confirmed and they affirmed, and that's exactly what it was. They left you in a place to where you came to believe that was your truth, and anybody and everybody had the ability that you interacted with at that time to change the trajectory of your mindset, to deposit something different, and to tell you something a little bit different. And whether you would have took heed to it or not, that's on you. But they had the opportunity to do it, and they didn't. They chose to keep you in a position to where it was harmful and it was wrong. It's wrong to tell somebody something like that, whether it's the truth or not. I feel like that's the thing that frustrates me, is because there's so many different times where we're grown up in these households, unfortunately, that there's no book on how to be a perfect parent. A lot of our parents, especially Black and brown, they had us when they were young. They didn't know how to raise children. They're just doing the best they can with what they have, and that's what we always say. And they show up as best as they can. But I think that there's so many different times and so many different elements where people have a position or an opportunity to let somebody know that they deserve so much more than what it is that they're giving themselves, because we like to stay in that suffrage. We love to stay in that suffrage because we feel like that's what we deserve. Why? Because that's exactly what we believe, because that's exactly what it is that we're told.
And then power words like create ideas.
Yes.
Right? In your mind, like, okay, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a good for nothing. And you know what? Since I'm a good for nothing, I'm gonna cause a muck. I'm gonna make you feel my pain. You're gonna feel my wrath, right? This is where I'm gonna come from.
Right.
So being in that structure, like probation, and I can remember there were 2 or 3 probation officers at that time. I know that we were in the punitive state of mind, lock them up, take them away, late 1980s, early 90s, like that's just the way it was. But I can still remember to this day the 2 or 3 probation officers or Reverend Ernie that used to come in to speak to us, right? And the power of them words, the uplifting them words like had on my life. Because to this day, I remember who they are.
Yep.
And so this trajectory, like, right, I'm in this situation, circumstances. Now I get charged with attempted murder and 5 211s, right? Now I'm going to a system, an adult system, where I'm lost. I remember going into the fish tank and the power of words through my peers. They're like, man, they're striking everybody out. The 3 strikes, punitive, lock them up, put them away. That's the discussion. Because everybody's feeling that system induced trauma, right? Because everybody's going through something. So we're having discussion of words like, we're all scared and we all have fear, but we're afraid to admit it. I remember that day being in the courtroom and the impact of the words where the judge sentenced me, right? The judge sentenced me, you are guilty, you are being charged for 17 years with halftime, with the possibility of being released. Them words had a big impact in my life. For me, I was discouraged. I was never getting out. The howls of my mother crying in the courtroom could be felt from wall to wall. It echoed in my brain, and that had an impact. That had an impact to where it led me into prison, being in Sinella, and okay, I ain't never getting out. Like the power words within my peers, like, this is how you do this. This is how you make this happen. I lost hope. I lost hope. And like you said in that message, they impact the rest of your lives. I only went to the 8th grade, and in a camp called Arizona Boys Ranch, I completed my GED, right? But I started reading a little bit in juvenile hall, and them power words had a great influence in me, because I was like, okay, I started reading one page, slower, faster. By the time I knew it, I was knocking out books in 2-3 days.
Yeah. Right? Oh, and he gets on my nerves because he reads so fast. It's so annoying. He's like,
yeah. And so like it had a good influence on me, but at the same time, the power words from being within my peers, the power words of manipulation, the power words of the struggle going in there. Prison is a place where sharks sleep. Yeah. The sharks sleep in prison, and all that high testosterone that's in there, it needs to be channeled in one way or another. I think the biggest blessing for me, because I was involved in this and that and just get involved in the mix, was being slammed down. It was not something that I liked, or like it discouraged me at first, but it was the biggest blessing that I had in my life, because it gave me a sense of like some type of purpose. And the isolation, there's power in that, right? And I was slammed down for my last 10 years of that time, right? And just hearing the people, the discussions, the conversations, right? Because everybody has healthy conversations in there about current events, about Iraq war, about presidency, politics, you name it, history, etc., etc. And it gave me the time to reflect and do more self-education on myself and read more. And that educated me. That was my self-education that inspired me to do something in my life whenever that moment was going to happen.
Yeah. And I think I mean, and then it comes into, it's all about perspective, right? Especially being in isolation, it becomes, I think, for our audience and for the people that are listening, for isolation, for SHU, it's segregated housing unit. You're locked down 24/7. You can't leave the room. You're just back there. Right. And, you've heard us talk about maybe different elements about it, right? It's isolation. It's inhumane torture. It absolutely is. But I love how you're able to highlight, what did you do with that? What did you do in the midst of feeling that way and being that way and coming up with that life challenge, right? And so for 10 years, like, I mean, I think that a lot of times because we have become so desensitized from the trauma and from the experiences that we have endured, we tend to like just kind of generalize what it is that we talk about in strong suggestion that, we assume that you all might know or understand the elements of what it is that in which we experienced. And, I don't know how else to say this other than, I would love for somebody just for 1 second, 10 seconds, to just imagine yourself locked in a restroom like locked inside of your bathroom, and that's where you eat, that's where you sleep. And I know that there's a lot of different shows and movies and stuff, but when it comes to the experience of it all, it's like we can watch that for entertainment, but when it comes to a self-enduring type of situation, it definitely takes it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, it does. And we could only encourage one another so much with the power of supportive words for one another.
Yeah.
Like, good morning, good night, how you doing?
Yeah.
Did you hear from your family? Did you hear from your son? Did you hear from your kid? Like there's so much you could do in a pod where there's 4 cells on the bottom, 4 cells on the top, when all of you are experiencing inhumane isolation, torture, right?
Yes.
Right. But the resilience that goes in there, right, is what makes us thrive. It helps us educate, and it helps us just become just a resilient individual under these isolation tortures that we have experienced. So we're just giving examples of our lives and connecting it with the power of words. But and it's not all that negative.
No, it's not. Before we go to that, I kind of want to go back. I want to rewind because I know we're probably getting ready to close it up on a positive tip. But, I love what you said and how you started it out. And you said, I want to start it out because I always like to start it out with narratives, right? And you shared your experience. And I think like right now, I know that there's a lot going on in the school systems, especially where we're at here in East San Diego, right? There's just a lot. There's a high need. These are families that need help. They need support. The youth need help. They need support. They need guidance. And, we understand that people can get frustrated, right? We all have our lives happening. Everybody's dealing and living with the effects of COVID, what reintegration looks like what all of that looks like, right? And I think the thing when we recently went to the school, right? And I'm not going to say no schools' names or anything, but it was really, really, really disheartening to know that, there's certain people that are in positions, and this is clear across. I mean, it doesn't even matter what title you have, right? It could be something so small, but it could be up to something so big. But the direct impact that you have on people's lives, and knowing that you have a duty, right? That this is your job and this is your responsibility and this is your duty to bring something good of a certain caliber to the table for youth and their experiences and for their life. I was reading something the other day as I'm getting ready to take this drug and alcohol test, and they said the law of the world and the law of the states right now is the lowest of ethical standard that we could even meet. It's the lowest. The law is what ultimately gets cases and crimes and puts people in prison. And that's the lowest of our ethical standard, right? And so I say that because I feel like there's a piece of dignity and responsibility for us as human beings. When we were in this school, one of the little boys had ice on his hand because he had punched the wall. But he's the bad kid. So we had asked him, why did he punch the wall? This little boy told us because the teacher called him a moron.
Think about that.
So this little kid, for the rest of his life, has had that experience to where now it doesn't just associate his brain. Now it's associating pain to this experience that might have something to do with him believing that this is his truth. So much so to where he had to inflict harm on himself. And I walked away that day and I was like, really, really, like, what do you do?
We all left.
Yeah.
We all left pretty angry.
Yeah. I don't want to say I try to take responsibility for my own stuff, but we were all extremely heated about that, and realized how, just how relevant it is and how powerful words are, so I just say that with the most humblest of hearts, especially when we're working with our youth. And so I went up to him and I had asked him if I could hug him. I've never seen the kid before. And so I had given him a hug and I made him tell me before we left. What did I make him tell me? Do you remember?
I forget, but that I'm not.
Yeah, no, I made him. I said, I wanted him to tell, he said his name and I made him to tell me I am an amazing young man. And so I had him say it to me 3 different times before we left, because I didn't want that to be the last of his experience, because he was going to get in trouble for punching the wall, you know?
Wow.
So,
yeah. And that's the, and I put myself in that kid's shoes. Nikki does.
Yep.
Like most of the people that what this podcast is about, individuals with that have been impacted by the justice system. But it just takes that one caring person to step into your life.
Yeah.
To be that motivation, a tool for you. For me, after going through all these trials and tribulation, it took a lady with white and blonde hair to connect with me and speak genuinely with me, and spark an idea that I knew nothing about as far as nonprofit, community organizing, how to help people, youth individuals and families, and the rest is history, right? So it just takes that one person to step in that person's life. Who knows the power of words that Nikki deposited into that youth, right? Who knows what that kid has been through all morning, all year, for a lifetime. What has that individual been through for him to punch the wall, right? The power of words could either be used in a positive way, and they could also be used in a negative way. And we need to learn how to deposit life into individuals, speak life into individuals, speak life into their processes, their goals, motivate them, so then they could go doing what they need to do and become productive members of society.
Yeah.
On Saturday, Nikki's birthday.
Oh,
she was
my gosh.
Was the
my
day,
birthday is not Saturday. First of all, everyone
it
calm
was,
down.
It was the day that she was granted parole, right?
Yes, it was the day that I was found suitable on October 30th in 2018 by the California Board of Prison Hearings. So that was my genuine like life celebration right there.
And then I don't know if you remember this discussion on the weekend, right? But we had a discussion of the 5 months that she waited for her parole.
Yeah.
Those were like I bet you, guarantee you, is one of the most stressful 5 months probably in her lifetime, because of the unknown. Yes, she was told that she's going to parole, and how am I going to connect and be out here in the future, and how am I going to make this happen? But the power of them words when you were granted your release date, that was uplifting.
Yes.
That was life-changing.
Yeah, we didn't expect it, for sure.
Right?
Yeah, we didn't know that. And the crazy thing was, and I was telling somebody this the other day, initially my attorney had came in and she was like, well, I don't know if you're going to get it, Nick. You got some confidentials, you got 4C files, things are...
And then power of them words, how did they make you feel?
I was just like, but there was a piece of me inside that just didn't want to, I wasn't going to allow what she said to be my truth. I knew my truth. I knew that I was ready to go in there, and I knew I was ready to say my truth. And regardless of how negative she was going to try, and I think it's just, wanting to, nobody wants to give out false hope. So it's just coming with a sense of reality, I guess, so to speak, or however they want to justify that in their minds, But when they had said it, they were like, we find you suitable today. I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it amazes me, and I could tell that that's always going to be a big, important day for you. And because the day we were talking about it, that day of, you were joyful, you were crying, you were you were overwhelmed, you were joyful, and you could reflect back to that.
Yeah,
and it's going to have an impact for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's definitely my day. For sure.
Yeah. So on our 4 pillars of the trauma-informed code of conduct: individualized support of staff, safety, and then there's effective communication. Let's be effective with one another. Let's help uplift one another. Let's be straight one another, right? When we need to be with one another. Be truthful with one another. And us parents with our kids, right? Even if they're acting like they don't love you and like they're just in their teen rebellion, and right, we need to speak life into them. And this is something that I need to continuously work on, right? And just catch myself. Okay, I need to connect with my family and I need to tell them I love them, that I'm support with them because of the way I was brought up
Yep.
in a culture where my mother, she never tells me she loves me, but I know she does because of her actions and her support. But her mother didn't tell her she loved her, and vice versa, right? So it
Right.
becomes this generational. So we definitely want to um, break that curse and be in support of one another.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's so much power. I think when he's talking, you can inspire. This is the thing that I had taken a couple of notes as we were preparing for this. So it says you can inspire a life and change a whole nation with just words, because you have the ability to alter the way people think, their perception, right? You can speak life or you could speak death. Also, you could crush a heart or you could heal it. Words can either shame a soul or they could liberate it. Words can shatter dreams or they can energize them. They can obstruct connection or they can invite it. So I think, like I always say, we have a responsibility as human beings, to be who we need to be, not just for ourselves, but for others, and it feels good being good to other people, whether you want to acknowledge that or not, or whether you've created so much, defense mechanisms in you to where you're not able to identify that, because I know I did for so very long. That was my defense mechanism, and it was easier to be hurting and cause pain versus, being nice and being kind, and so with that, I want to close out with this quote, and it says, being kind costs nothing. And, we big fans about costing nothing up in here, right? It costs nothing. So kind acts and kind words will go a long way to put someone back on their feet. They have the power to give strength, to motivate, to boost self-esteem, and increase confidence. So just remember, in a world where you could be anything, be kind.
Be kind.
That's it. It's so like that. Just be kind,
Yeah, be kind. And I have some closing remarks too.
Yes.
Like, words create ideas. With ideas, you get thoughts. With thoughts, you get feelings. With feelings, you get behaviors. With behaviors, you get actions. So speak life into people and make sure that what you speak, you're speaking something positive into them.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all so much for joining us on this powerful Tell the Truth, Bring It from the Tongue Tuesday. The link will be in the chat. We will see you guys here next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you everybody that has just been involved and stays in tune. We have a new donation system. It's called Donor Perfect on our website. So if you guys want to make a donation, please do what you can to follow our page, share our page. It costs nothing. Follow us on YouTube as well. We're active and live on YouTube also. And so thank you so much. And you all have a beautiful day. Be good to yourself and deposit that into the world.
VV, baby.
We're out. Look at Boss Victoria's voices.
Transferable skills.
Yes. You all are amazing. So thank you. Yes, that one. There you go, Jocelyn. Okay. Thank you so much, Jocelyn. That was awesome. It was great. So glad you were here to be able to experience it.
It's a little different from other podcasts.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your perspective?
I think you guys do really good.
Yeah.
Very personable, but also empowering at the same time. Okay. When you guys share stories, it's really good because then people can relate to what you're saying rather than just
listening,
just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
So it's definitely very
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That's so wonderful to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and because we're finally getting our structure together.
Yeah.
We usually bring in people.
Yeah.
And the people we bring in, just they're still, because we always got the same stuff, right? But there's conversation. But the people we bring in is
Because we were so initially how we were doing is that we were doing it on Facebook Live on our laptops. So he'd be in his office, I'd be in my office, and then we'd link somebody in here to where they would Zoom with us, you know. But now what we have to do is we want to be able to try and invite them